Hi, I'm Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, my girlfriend moved away. Will she come back? This particular email, he's from a 28-year-old guy. He's from the UK. And I guess earlier this year, he started dating a girl from Brazil. Any man that's dated a Brazilian woman knows, just like they say, Brazilians tend to do it better. However, things are going great. She was on a student visa, and then I guess the student visa ran out. And then so she ends up moving to Ireland and gets a student visa there. And now that she's there, she says she likes Ireland more and didn't really like the UK. And now this particular guy, her boyfriend, the guy that wrote the email, is thinking, well, I got a great job here, pays well in the UK, don't really want to move to Ireland. We could get married. He was thinking that eventually they would get married, and obviously she'd be able to stay in the UK because they got married. But now she's like, I don't really like the UK. You tell her, he's like, what do I do? And so I've had many, many phone sessions over the years with guys that have gotten in these situations with women. And so the things to keep in mind, if you're in this situation for a man should only move if he actually wants to live in the city in the area where his girlfriend or his fiance happens to be. He shouldn't uproot his life, sell his house, move away from all his friends and family, close down his business because his girlfriend that lives in another state says she wants to live there. I've done countless phone sessions over the years with guys that have done that. I've seen guys where it took them like a year and a half to do an internal transfer in their the company they worked for, because they work for a big giant corporation. Finally, get transfer goes through. They sell their house. They pack up all their stuff. They get to the country where they're going, and then they're there for a week or two, and then the girl breaks up with them and dumps them. They're working at the same company, but now that he's there because that's what she wanted, then she dumps him. And when I've been talking to these guys, they're like, I didn't really want to live there, but I loved her and I wanted to make her happy. And then so he in essence submits to what she wants. They didn't move there because they wanted to live there. They moved there because they were doing it to please the woman. And for those of you that are very familiar with 3% Man and have dealt with very extremely feminine women, you know that their opinion and their feelings are constantly in flux. And that's why men are the rock, men are the mountain, men are the stability. And they don't get caught up in a woman's changing moods or emotions or feelings any more than they get caught up in the weather. So with that in mind, let's go through his email. He says, hi, Corey. I'm a 28-year-old man from the UK, and I've been a longtime follower of your work and have read the book a fair few amount of times. I would have to say you probably haven't read it to 10 to 15. So if you've been a long-time follower, you're fucking slacking, dude. Come on, man. You can do better. He says, I'd taken on board a lot of material. The overall philosophy I took from it was to find your self-worth and a woman who had a high level of interest in me. I began holding out for the right girl who showed a good level of interest in me and who I also liked. On New Year's Day, I met this beautiful woman through Tinder. She was from Brazil. She's 26, and she very quickly fell in love with me and I her. And eventually, she broached the topic of wanting my children and how we would get married and live together. Sounds good so far. But there was a problem, for her visa was running out. She was only on a student visa and it ran out, and we got around this by her going to Ireland to study so she could have a student visa. This is where things have gone sideways. She always promised she would come back to make her life here. She's been gone a month, and recently she told me she doesn't like the UK and she loves me but prefers Ireland. I think it's possible she could be swayed. Well, the reality is, just like it says in the Bible, the woman submits to the man, not the other way around. They open up to receive you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. He says, but I have a good job and mortgage here, as well as my friends. In the future, I could move to Ireland, but I really need to put some money behind me here first. So, like I was saying in the beginning, the only way you should be considering moving to Ireland is if you really genuinely are excited to live there and want to be there and are glad that your future fiance possibly wants you to move there or wants to stay there as well. But if you have no intention of moving to Ireland and the thought of that is just not exciting or compelling to you, you got to say, babe, I love you. I love what we have here. If you really love Ireland and you love Ireland more than me, I'm not going to be moving there. We can do long distance, but I'm not moving to Ireland, and I'm not going to get married and do long distance either. You have to tell her what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and what your intentions are. You shouldn't be considering this just to please her. And the reality is, in this particular case, this woman, she didn't have a choice because of the legal issues. But now that she's moved to Ireland, now she's like, oh, I really like it here. I think I'm going to stay here. And so that could be indicative of her interest dropping. And if you've only been dating, I think it was like since the beginning of the year, you don't really have enough time with this girl yet. And I don't know how many months she was in the UK before she went. Well, actually, she said she's been there for a month. So if you met her at New Year's, I guess you had maybe 5 months together before she moved away. And then now you're kind of going back and forth, probably doing Skype video dates or FaceTime video dates once or twice a week, having dinner together, whatever, when you can't be there, and then flying back and forth. But obviously that stuff gets very expensive, going back and forth, hotels, or you're staying at her place. But it's not cheap to do all those things. So the other thing to consider is, because I know it's a pretty common thing, is that if a woman's really in love with you and then yet she takes a job on the other side of the country because it's a great career opportunity, women are not going to leave the man that they're head over heels in love with. And if you really want to be, this particular guy, if you really want to stay in the UK, then you're going to have to be honest with her. You're going to tell her that you have no intentions to moving to Ireland. And she can either accept that or say eventually she'll come back. I mean, if she loves you, she won't care where you live. But if she's not that into you, then she wants to stay in the UK, I'd say she's not that into you. I'd say you definitely need, that's why I say you got to read this 10 to 15 times. And your response in the beginning of the email didn't sound like a guy that knew the work backwards and forwards. It sounds like a dude that cherry picked. So if you cherry pick, you'll get some attainable success, but it won't be sustainable. And that might be why you're starting to have some issues here. But also, you got to keep in mind, she could just be in the new place of Ireland. It's new, and she's like, oh, I really like it here, but I didn't like the UK. I wouldn't worry about that too much. The only thing that really matters is how a woman feels about you. Because if she's head over heels in love with you, she'll do whatever it takes to make sure she could be stuck on you like a sucker fish. She's not going to want to live in Ireland. And if you're a guy that doesn't have a situation like this, like say you're dating your girl for a couple of years, and then she decides to move a long distance away, 2 or 3 hours away, or maybe on the other side of the country, it's like women don't move away from men they're in love with and are thinking about having a life with. Now, this particular woman, she moved away because she didn't have a choice because of the visa situation. And they didn't date long enough to know whether or not she's a good candidate for marriage. And so the situation now that you're kind of long distance, you'll see how committed she really is to you and you to her. But you're going to have to maintain what I talk about in 3% Man if you want to keep her attracted and in love and submissive to you. And if she's fallen out of love with you or is losing interest, that's when she'll be, well, I kind of like it in Ireland. So I wouldn't get wrapped up in that. I wouldn't move there unless you actually wanted to live in Ireland. And from what you said in your email, it doesn't sound like you really wanted to. And every single phone session I've done with guys that have been in this situation where they actually sold their houses, some of them sold businesses, and there was like millions of dollars at stake in these transactions. And then these guys move countries to go be with the girl that supposedly loves them because that's where the girl wanted to be. And then when they finally get there, a week or two later, she dumps his ass and feels no remorse. And that's a bad situation. You should, as a man, you should only move if it's where you really want to be. And if you don't, even if the woman says, well, then we can't be together and I'm going to break it off, you just say, well, sorry you feel that way. It's not what I want. But if you don't want to make the effort, it takes two to tango. And if you don't want to tango anymore, then I guess you'll just have to go find another partner to tango with. I know it's going to be pretty hard to have the kind of standard, because I'm an awesome dude. But if that's what you want, I want you to be happy, and I'm going to be happy, but I'm not moving there. And if you change your mind, get in touch and come see me. So if you got a question or a challenge and you'd like to get my help, go to understandingrelationships.com, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and book a coaching session with yours truly. Until next time, I will talk to you soon.